It's alright, just go to sleep now. Oh, hello there. Getting right into the point again. Sleep. That is what's gonna be focused on in this challenge run. That's right, I'm gonna sleep my way to the Elden Ring. Wait, hold up. As I said, I'm gonna be focusing on using the sleep status effect for this run. And I'm gonna be doing it the way Miyazaki intended it. Maybe. Now I believe this is a good enough intro for this video. This is Warden Gamer 4, and I recommend you to sit back, relax, and or listen as I use the sleep status effect to help me beat Elden Ring. Please know I'm not going to be using every way to sleep someone. Anyways, it's time to get into the run. Oh boy, time to Elden Ring. To start off, I get my handy dandy transportation horse. Now it's time to get one of the main weapons I'm going to be using for this run. It's just right here at the front entrance located at the Forsaken Ruins. But I gotta be careful with the security here, because it's guarded by 2 mutated birds, and a swordstone key is required. And after unlocking the chest here, I get the Sword of St. Trina. This is pretty much gonna be the main weapon of this run, because it's one out of the 2 weapons that already has the sleep status effect on it. The other one is the Sleepy Torch, which I'm not gonna get for a while. I could have gone the Ripple Blade and Halberd route, but I didn't want to have to deal with having to grease my weapon up all the time. Also, farming for those weapons are a bit annoying, and if you do PvP in this game, I'm pretty sure those weapons are the last thing you want to see, even in a PvE setting. And even though I picked up the Feathers Cookbook 1, I'm not gonna be using sleeping pots. If I was using the Ripple weapons, I would've. Because just like the Ripple weapons, the pots scale off of Arcane, which also increases the status effect buildup. But because I'm not leveling up Arcane, I just picked it up mostly as a just in case. To make up for the loss of the sleep status effect, I'm gonna get the Spirit Calling Bow for a specific spirit that I'll obtain a bit later. Then I go and farm the Rolling Ball for some runes at Dragon Barrow. And then I start obtaining Somber Smithing Stones in order to upgrade my weapon. 1, 2, and 4 are very easy to collect. I forgot where number 3 was, but I can easily just buy that at the Liurny of the Lakes area, courtesy of Giant Blacksmith E.G. While I'm near Caria Manor, I might as well get the Grace here right near the boss. With that done, it's time for me to collect items in order to reach out this plateau, which means it's time to make a quick run by to Fort Height in order to pick up the left side of the Dectus medallion, and sneak my way through Fort Faroff in order to get the right half of the medallion. Just ignore the poison. Now that I'm here at Altus, time for me to collect the rest of the Somber Smithing Stones I require. With all the stones acquired, I now buy my final piece from EG, and upgrade the St. Trina sword to +6. With the leftover runes from upgrading, I level myself up to actually wield the sword, which is oh so damn beautiful. Also, according to the wiki, it increases my sleep build-up effect by 70, and adding the initial 66 it already has, it goes all the way up to 136 sleep build-up. Also, I went and got the Intelligence Knot Crystal tier, which is the wrong knot tier that I needed. I'll realize that later in the run, but for now it's time to fight the boss at Caria Manor. Royal Knight Loretta here, unfortunately, cannot be affected by sleep. Because of this, there's no reason to build up any sleep status effects, and even if we could, she probably would have been resistant to it, like an absolute majority of the bosses in this game. And by that I mean they don't fall asleep, they only get staggered a little bit. For now, it's just time to fight her the old-fashioned way, and by that I mean poking her to oblivion. This fight took a lot longer than it needed to be at 3 minutes and 15 seconds. But now with the spooky ghost out of the way, I gain access to the 3 sisters. Then I agree to help Ronnie in order to gain access to Celivis, in order to do part of his side quest in order to get the Spirit Ash that I want. But Nefeli was smart enough to know to not accept medicine from strangers. And unfortunately Gideon is not in the mood to discard the potion for me. And because of that, I'm not going to try to get the Spirit Ash for now, so it's time for me to just progress with the game. Which means it's time to fight Margit. In the fight against Margit, I decided I wanted to poke him to death. Because of that, I was a tad bit careless and got myself killed. Second time around, I was comboed to death. So before I fight Margit again, I go to the Lakeside Crystal Cave in order to find a talisman here that's going to help me in poking my enemies. But unfortunately for me, I missed it and ended up having to fight the boss here, which after the final clash, I died and fail. In the next attempt, I would just dodge and heavy attack him. I would follow up with another heavy attack, but that was too greedy and I would always get hit afterwards. And once the Bloodhound Knight goes down, I pretty much get nothing of value except an NPC I'm going to use later. And after a bit more exploring in the same area, I finally get the Spear Talisman. It increases counterattack damage for thrusting weapons or attacks. I honestly don't know how many times I even procced it, but it's a nice little bonus to damage. I really didn't even need it for Margit, I just wanted to do something other than fight Margit after dying 2 times. And I honestly forgot to pick up that talisman, so it works out for me. Now for the fight against Margit, it's just a whole lot of dodging and a whole lot of poking. Very unfortunate for me, this boss is immune to sleep, so there's no reason to even try to build status effects on him. So this encounter was pretty much just a run-of-the-mill battle against Margit. Except there's a bit more stabbing involved this time around. And after enough thrusting attacks into him, Margit goes down. The fight lasted about 3 minutes and I died 2 times. Now it's time for me to level up with the runes I gained. And now make my way through Stormveil Castle using the back entrance. You know, the entrance that the developers intended for the newbies. Yep, nothing like trap after trap in this location. At least the enemies here are not immune to sleep though. And after I take care of the knight, it's time for some rooftop jumping. And a bit of skedaddling through the courtyard. I get the next grace available. Try to give the potion to Nepheli again, but she's not here, which is going to be unfortunate for me later. But now thinking about it here in post-commentary, I'm pretty sure she was at the village of the Albinaurics. Anyways, it's time to fight the area boss, which is Godrick the Grafted. And now unlike the other bosses I fought, except for maybe the Bloodhound Knight, Godrick here is affected by sleep. It might just make him a bit drowsy, but at least it affects him. Hey, it's not the full effect, but at least it's something. And for phase 1, I was able to inflict him with sleep 3 times. Please note though that even though at first it's easy to inflict them with a status effect, the more you inflict them with the same status effect, the more resistant they become to it. Which means here in phase 2, it's gonna be a lot more difficult to inflict sleep. It's nap time, Godrick. Just go to sleep and let it happen. And after 2 minutes and 47 seconds, he goes down. Funny how I was able to make Godrick suffer the status effect, but it seems like Gustok here is immune to it. With that done, I now have the opportunity to discard Salavis's potion through Gideon, which was not a good idea because it locked me out of the Spirit Ash that I wanted. And I could have gotten it now if I gave it to Nepheli, which at the time I didn't know where she was. I can still get the Spirit Ash, but there's a few more steps now involved. But before I do that, it's time to use up the runes I obtained and level up. And now, right after fighting Godrick, it's time to fight Radahn. For the fight against Radahn, I decided to enlist the help of the summons here, which kinda wasn't a good idea because it made it much more difficult to even affect the boss with sleep. Because even though it showed I inflicted sleep on Radahn right here, any extra attack will immediately knock him out of it, meaning that he won't do his little drowsy animation. And with all the summons just going to town on him, inflicting sleep on him pretty much means nothing. And that may or may not have been the causes of my death. Nah, I think it was just a skill issue. But it doesn't mean it's actually impossible to affect him with sleep. Because right here, after a totally calculated move, I gave him the old Dusty Chloroform special, he ended up doing his little drowsy animation. Well, that's a win in my book, and that's good enough for me. Now it's time to unmercifully gank him. And once he lands for phase 2, just do the same. I was able to pull off the sleep again on near the end, but because I got knocked away, it only gave me like 3 seconds of respite. And after 3 minutes and 9 seconds, Radagon goes down. Not by my hand, unfortunately, but we take those dubs. Now it's time to watch the stars fall in this beautiful night. And now head on over to Necron. And down here I found out why sleep is an annoying status effect to deal with in PvP. Getting stunned by it ain't cool. Unless, you know, you're the one doing the stunning. Thank you, Mimic, for the little insight you've given me. After the Mimic boss, it's time to continue going through the area, avoiding any possible conflict. And eventually I'm rewarded with the Finger Slayer blade and a great Ghost Glovewort, which is going to be useful for me in a little bit. Now I give the blade to Ronnie, confirm that Celavis has indeed died, and now here at Pity's body I get Dolores, the Sleeping Arrow puppet. This Spirit Ash is very good at inflicting sleep, but before I put my new ally to action I gotta upgrade her. So it's time to pick up the Ghost Glovewort belt at Necron. And after heading into the teleport at Renna's Rise, I get even more Gloveworts. And after pushing a bit more forward until I reach Noxtella, I get the rest of the Ghost Gloveworts here. Also, I got whipped to death. I see how it is. I went back to go get my runes and have a bit of revenge. But for my troubles, I took a javelin to the knee. With that all said and done, I turn in all of the Ghost Glovewort bells that I've obtained. Then buy any of the missing Gloveworts, and with that I upgrade my spirit to the max. It won't be doing a lot of damage, but the sleep buildup is really good. Now it's time to level up my health and endurance a bit. Then mistakenly pick up the Ghost Flame Torch. I thought the Torch of St. Trina was here, but I guess I got my locations mixed up. And after that little mistake, it's time to fight the Draconic Tree Sentinel. Now I summoned Dolores for her debut. And she was going a tad bit overboard with the sleep arrow spam. She's also kind of the reason why I died here in my first attempt. Yep, not my fault. The least you can do is end the boss, Dolores. Damn it. Now the rest of my deaths here are just caused by me and absurd hitboxes. In the victory attempt, the start of the fight went pretty swimmingly. The Draconic Tree Sentinel got staggered by a headshot, then slept. But after that, any status affliction did not go the way I wanted. It was very easy to inflict sleep, but the drowsy animation didn't really go through because of the extra attacks here and there. A little tad too many failed sleep attempts. I was able to pop it off properly one more time in this fight, but that was it. The rest of the fight was just a whole lot of stabbing. And after 2 minutes and 12 seconds, the Draconic Tree Sentinel goes down. I ended up dying 3 times against the boss here. And now with the guard defeated, I now have access to Lindell, the royal capital. And of course the quickest way through the area is using the roofs. Afterwards, it's a bit of arrow dodging. Getting the Grace right here. And now I make a little quick detour to the Loux ruins. Cause the boss here to do the phase transition animation 2 times for some reason. And after defeating the queen, get the ritual sword talisman for bonus damage at full health. And with that talisman obtained, it's now time to fight against Phantom Godfrey, who is immune to all status effects, except for sleep. And lucky for me, that's the topic of this challenge run. While me and Dolores inflicted sleep on Goldshade Godfrey quite a good amount of times, they were unfortunately during times when I couldn't capitalize on the opportunity given. It did allow me to get a stance break though, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, Dolores gets taken down, but it matters not because the boss is already almost dead. And after a styleful finish, Goldshade Godfrey goes down. Now it's time to level up a mix of health, mind, and dexterity. And directly right after, it's time to fight King Morgott. So in order to start off the fight against Margit, I fall back in order to summon my spirit ally, while purposely getting hit of course. And after that I just try to sleep Morgott to the best of my ability. Unlike Margit, Morgott is affected by sleep, but he's very strong against the status effect. And while me and the Spirit Ash inflicted the status on him multiple times, actually getting the stun animation is a completely different story. Other than that, the fight was pretty routine with me having a lot of opportunities to attack because of the Spirit Ash taking aggro. And whenever the chances come, I use Mist of Slumber or hit very hard. At the very end of the battle, Morgott and my Spirit Ash exchanges blows, and the fight is over. All this fighting lasted about 1 minute and 50 seconds. With that over, it's time to head towards the mountaintop of the giants. But before that, I gotta go through the Forbidden Lands, which is where I finally get a Somber 7 smithing stone. Up ahead, I ignored the Black Blade Kindred, because no one's got time for that. And now right before using the elevator, I go to the village of the Albinarics in order to get 1/2 of the secret medallion, which will allow me to get Loretta here, which is part of her side quest, and where she wants to go is where I need to go as well, so I might as well bring her along. Now up here on the mountaintops, I get the necessary graces for optional content, which is Castle Soul, and also for progression, which is at Flame Peak. Now it's time to make a little quick detour to Dragon Barrow in order to get the Somber Smithing Stones that I need to further upgrade my sword. Very easy gets. Heading back to the round table, I bully the invader here by pretty much just poking him to death. Good, get on your knees. And then upgrade the Sword of St. Trina to +9. After that, I use any bonus gold runes that I've obtained in order to level up health, mind, and dexterity a bit more. And after getting blessed by luck, not getting obliterated here at the second Castle Soul Grace, I bring down the shortcut elevator, rest up a little bit, and now it's time to fight Commander Niall and his minions. For the start of the fight, I focus on taking out his spirit summons. As always, they get in the way of fighting the actual boss. They weren't too difficult to take out this time around, because the other times they just obliterated me. But once they're dealt with, it's time to summon my own Spirit Ash to help me in my fight against Niall. Me and the summon were actually able to sleep stagger him quite a few times. But of course it didn't really make the fight any shorter, because Commander Niall is a chunky bastard. But the free heavy hits I was able to get in are very much welcomed. And after 4 minutes and 46 seconds, Commander Niall goes down. Also, I ended up dying 4 times trying to beat him. With the Snow Commander defeated, I get the last half of the secret medallion. With that, now I have access to the consecrated snowfield. Here is where I get my new weapon. And after putting the giants to sleep in just 1 hit, I can access the chest in the back of the carriage and get my new weapon, which is St. Trina's Torch. And after idiotically putting my levels into dexterity rather than faith in order to actually wield the torch, I go and take on the magical walking artillery turtle. Difficult to get close to, but once you're under it, it's easy peasy to take it down. This is also the end location for Loretta's quest. Didn't think I'll see female to female impregnation in this game. Anyways, my reward is an ancient somber smithing stone. After that, it's time for the liturgical town. And after making some precise jumps, I take down the annoying archers with a bit of relative ease. Also, this is a place where I get the Elden arc bow. I'll be using this later. And after lighting up all the candles here, I don't immediately head towards the Haligtree. Instead, I go make copies of Radagon's Remembrance. I did this to get the runes to level up Faith to 14. With this, I can now properly wield the torch, and its Ash of War fires a slumber. All I gotta do is put it on the ground and let it do its work. It's a bit slow and difficult to use, but as long as the enemies stay still in the fire, they keep on getting sleep status effect build up. Also, I'm fighting this gladiator guy because for some odd reason I thought the cape from his armor set drops here. Yeah, no, I'm very much wrong on that. Yeah, no, you only get his helmet and his hammer here. I swear, I'm a dumbass sometimes. For the cape, I actually have to go to the consecrated snowfield catacombs. And I completely forgot that this place does not show mercy. And if you forget where all the traps and enemy placements are, it's just an unfortunate death right after the other. The inhabitants also are very chunky in their health pool, so it's best to just let the trap do everything for you. And the boss of this area is the gladiator guy again, but this time he has a chain axe. That extendo axe is scary, but at least the boss is still manageable. Also, pretty easy to sleep. And after double teaming him with some nasty headshots and back shots, the boss goes down. And my reward for all of this is the Rotting Gravekeeper cloak. I like the cape, but I hate that the hood requires the helm in order to actually bring it up. Also, I forgot how huge the hood is. It's kind of distracting, honestly. Anyways, I further level up my dexterity. And now it's time to fight the Fire Giant. Fire Giant is not immune to sleep, but he has a pretty high resistance towards it. But it's kind of difficult to tell when he gets afflicted by sleep. With how loud the sound was in this fight, I wasn't able to properly tell when he got afflicted or not. So I just decided to wail on him for the first phase. Also, I'm pretty sure he got afflicted here right at the end of the phase. And now here at the start of the second phase, I bring out the Sleepy Archer and go a bit crazy with the sleep status build up. It was kinda difficult to see whether or not he was even getting afflicted by the status effect. He was getting affected by sleep, but of course the extra hits would just knock him out of it immediately. Fighting him here didn't feel that much different from fighting him in a normal run, except for, you know, the monumentous amount of shanking. But I was able to witness the sleep stun animation of the boss. Great, I benefited in no way whatsoever. And then at the end, a stab in the eye. And a stab to the thigh, and the fight ends in about 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Also, I was able to do it in the first attempt. And with Fire Giant defeated, I now gain access to Ferra Missoula, which is where the sleep status effect is the most useful thing to use here. This is especially true on the beast guys. It's alright on the knight guys, but it's especially useful for the Godskins here. But before I go through the Godskin gauntlet, I'm going to collect some smithing stone bells in order to upgrade the weapons that haven't been upgraded. With the use of the somber smithing stones, I was able to bring up St. Trina's torch up to +8. And for the Albanarch bow, I gotta collect some normal smithing stone bells. Luckily, one is just right at the start of the mountaintop of the Giants area. The next one I need is at the Rhea Lucaria Crystal Tunnel, where I gotta beat the crystal guy here in order to get another bell. Afterwards, I go to the Celia Crystal Tunnel in order to fight the Falling Star Beast boss here in order to get some high-end normal smithing stones. Luckily, at this level, he's pretty easy to defeat. With the amount of health I have already, his attacks just tickle me. With the end of the boss, I get some Smithing Stone 7. Then collect a few more here near Fort Feroth. And with all the smithing stuff finally obtained, it's time to collect materials to make arrows for my bow. And in order to make the sleepy arrows, I gotta deal with the bell-bearing hunter here at the War Master Shack in order to get the Bone Peddler bell. Then back to Caelid I go to get this painting. Then make my way down to this secret little area that is near the Putrid Avatar at Dragon Barrow in order to get the Asher War Rain of Arrows. Please note that you need the painting that I showed in order to get this Asher War. And with this, the bow is now operational. And also, I didn't know that these jellyfishes had the chance of dropping Trina lilies here. This location is just literally to the right of where the giant lady is for Latenna's quest. Anyways, it's time to pick up the Feathers Cookbook number 2 to actually make the sleeping arrows. And with the combination of rain of arrows, it'll make a good way of stacking up some sleep status effects. Also, I got the arrow string talisman to boost a bit of the damage up. And with that all collected, it's time to fight the ever so fair Godskin duo. God, I love this boss. Please note that this was said in extreme sarcasm. There's really not much to say about this boss except the sleep status effect is their biggest weakness. And all the fighting against the Godskins just amounted to sleep, stab, repeat. Also, there was a bit of fire here and there, which was very effective against a Godskin that already was sleeping. Just complete and utter sleepy annihilation. Once you start just fighting them one by one, they're very easy to take down, especially with Dolores' help here. It feels kind of unfair, but this game is pretty unfair to use, so it works out. But I can't get too careless now. This absolute sleep fest lasted about 3 minutes and 28 seconds. And I died only one time. Strike that, I actually died 2 times against the Godskin duo. Great, next up is the dreaded run against all the eagles and lightning everywhere. which will always never not be scary to go through. And after continuing to run through the area, I get the Grace right below the Great Bridge, and deal with the Draconic Tree Sentinel again. In this encounter against him, I decided to use the torch. The reason why I did this was because, you know, I gotta keep it fair for him. But in all seriousness, I didn't think the torch was gonna be this good. There was quite a good amount of sleep stuns and staggers going around, with a whole lot of dodging. My only problem with the torch is that it's a very short weapon, and I missed quite a few attacks because of that. Anyways, the Draconic Tree Sentinel has been downed again. And after obtaining his armor set, it made me realize that I don't like the helm I'm currently wearing. So I'm just gonna remove it. And after using the Grace in order to recover my health and flask, it's time to fight Maliketh. And the first attempt was going pretty well, except that I failed to dodge an attack. Now Maliketh here is not immune to sleep, but he is very, very resistant to it. That number is pretty damn big if you ask me. And I think the boss, at least according to the wiki, with the second highest resistance is Mohg. Anyways, because of Maliketh's high sleep resistance, the fight against the first phase was a pretty normal fight. Also, I was able to stagger him right at the end of this phase. And now that I'm here in the second phase, I decided to play very aggressively. All just for the attempt to inflict sleep on him. It's been a while since I fought him like this. Good thing I know how to quickly dodge his attacks, because that blade he has hurts. And right here near the very end, I was actually able to sleep stagger him. I was so close to end the fight here, but of course Maliketh had to scream. Also, I failed to dodge. But after that final hit, he goes down. The fight lasted about 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and surprisingly I died 0 times. Almost reaching the end of Elden Ring now, but there's still one main optional thing that I want to do. But before I do that, I'm going to deal with Gideon first. The absolute spammer. In the previous attempts, I decided to go hyper aggressive on him, but it seems like it didn't work out very well. So in this one, I decided to just go slow. If he tries to do any magical shenanigans, I just whack him. And here at the very end, he had the bright idea of not attacking me, which gave me a free backstab. And with how low his health is, he decided to just start panic rolling. I would be doing the same thing if I was in his position, but the problem is it's actually kind of easy to catch. And with that, Gideon goes down. With the runes obtained, I level up my mind and dexterity. And now I believe it's a good time to start doing the Haligtree. Ah yes, what a warm welcome. Also, I was able to make this jump right here, after failing it I don't even know how many times in all my previous challenge runs. And now with the shortcut obtained, it's time to fight Haligtree Loretta, who hits pretty much like a damn freight train. Unlike Carrier Manor Loretta, this Loretta is not immune to sleep, and I took absolute advantage of that to the fullest. But I do have to be careful because she hurts quite a good bit. Don't worry Loretta, you'll have your eternal sleep soon, just like your ghosty version. Yep, just a whole lot of staggers and stance breaking in this fight. There were a few mistakes here and there, but that ain't gonna stop me and my Spirit Ash. And after luckily surviving after getting hit, my Spirit Ash Dolores here ends the fight for me. The battle lasted about 2 minutes and 33 seconds, and I ended up dying one time. Great, next up is just running right through everything. No need to deal with any of the fluff here. Traverse the spicy water, and dodge all the cooming bugs. All in order to fight Malenia, who fortunately for me is not immune to sleep. But trying to consistently inflict it on her is another thing altogether. First attempt went pretty well, except for a judgment fail at the end, where I got no mercy from the shadow clones. The second attempt I got diced up like a damn onion. I also forgot she had a hitbox under her when she used discarded Aeonia. For most of phase 1 of Malenia, I would dodge and then just poke her. Also, I elected to fight her on my own, because I don't want my Spirit Ash to accidentally heal a huge chunk of her health. Because of this, I'm going to be fighting her the good old-fashioned way. It's quite a simple step that requires very in-depth knowledge of her movement and attacks. One wrong move might possibly spell retry. I got absolutely lucky here even though I screwed up a little bit. No more Mr. Nice Guy Malenia, I'm not gonna let that shit happen again. Near the end here, I decided to just start using running attacks in order to just finish off this first phase. It was a bit risky, but I had enough time to react just in case. Now here in the next phase, it's time to actually dodge the discarded Aeonia, then start bringing down a rain of sleepy arrows. I don't know if the Ash of War chops up or actually leaves the status effect proper, which I think is the latter because I was actually able to inflict sleep in 2 hits right after. And the rest of the fight is pretty much similar to phase 1, except she has a few more tricks up her sleeve. But that also means she has new vulnerabilities. And once her health gets low again, she starts doing Scarlet Aeonia again. And that's very welcoming because it's Rain of Arrow time. Malenia, I know you have a huge health pool, but just please go to sleep. You'd be doing everyone a favor. And finally, after about 13 minutes and 48 seconds, Malenia is defeated. And I only died 3 times fighting against her. And now with the Haligtree done with, now it's a good time to finish off whatever's left of the game's story. Meaning that the next obstacle is Godfrey. He's sleepable, but instead of making him catch sleep, I ended up catching his hands. 2 great fist worth of them. In the other attempt, I tried swapping weapons before dodging, which led me to getting dunked on. For a fight against Godfrey, his phase 1 is pretty much the same as his Gold Shade version, so I already know what I'm dealing with. This version might look more intimidating, but he's still not immune to sleep, which gives me more opportunities for heavy attacks. And those attacks lead to easy stance breaks. And once he gets his Mega Stomps, it means absolutely nothing because I can just easily jump over it. All the fighting for phase 1 went pretty well. Now here in phase 2, I hit him with a little cheeky Mist of Slumbers at the start. And after he does his Grand Slam AoE, it's time to make it rain. One sad thing during the fight is that Dolores got absolutely stomped on here. You will be missed unlimited sleeping arrows. Also, one last thing to mention about this phase of the fight. When Godfrey becomes Hoarah low, his sleep resistance skyrockets, making it comparable to Moog. The worst part is that it's the only resistance that changes. At least according to the wiki, all the other resistances have not gone up or down. Mr. Godfrey here is quite a stubborn and relentless man, ain't he? But it's nothing a few pokes in the ass can't fix. And after about 11 minutes and 45 seconds, Godfrey goes down. Only ended up dying 2 times fighting against him. With that over, it's time to use up the remembrances I've gained in order to level up, putting it all in Faith. Now before the final fight, I check up my inventory a little bit, and I have to say that my efficiency in using talismans for this challenge run have been subpar. I've gone up to this point, so why bother changing it at all for the final fight? Speaking of which, I skipped the intro for the boss, and it's now time to fight Radagon. Now the unfortunate news against this boss: he cannot be slept. You heard it right here, guys, he's immune to the nap time. But just because he's immune to that doesn't mean that he's immune to me beating the shit out of him with a torch. And with fire being his weakness, this torch is actually pretty effective. It's always fun using weapons I don't normally use. Going back to Radagon, suffering from insomnia. Because of the immunity, I just fight him normal melee to melee combat. Which, as long as my dodging is on point, everything goes swell. After one last slam, Radagon goes down, beaten by a purple torch. Now it's time to buff up and top off in order to fight the Elden Beast. I'm sure you noticed, but I have not summoned Dolores at all. Just like Radagon, the Elden Beast is immune to sleep, and because of this, her services are not needed at all. This also means, just like Radagon, I'll be going the pure melee route against the beast. There's not really much to say about this fight. Even though he's the final boss, I can read his attacks very easily because of how many times I already fought him. So nothing really interesting occurs except for the usual close calls because of being a little too greedy, and some charged up stabby stabs. And if he gets his stance broken, absolute destruction to his health bar. Aside from getting exploded on with holy light, the fight went very smoothly and I ended it off with the torch. This entire battle against the 2 bosses lasted about 8 minutes and 50 seconds, and I ended up dying 0 times. And after doing one last thing of burning Marika's body, after that I just mend the Elden Ring, and so ends the run of beating the game with sleep. You know, PvE wise, sleep is pretty damn good. It's not as good as the other status effects, except for maybe poison, but it's pretty good for what it's used for, which is to deal either heavy damage or just take a little break from the fighting. It's a pretty underrated status effect, honestly, with it only having one main weapon with the sleep ailment already on it, and an offhand weapon which is the torch. I know the ripple weapons exist and are especially good with the sleep grease. I feel like that weapon build wasn't really made much for PvE, but more to cheese PvP. Still though, I'd say those weapons are a lot better than the St. Trina's torch and sword. As long as you don't mind having to buff it up every minute with sleep grease or any other status grease you want put on it. I dislike it because I tend to forget to rebuff myself. And now, one last thing. I've talked about this before in a previous video, but it's about streaming. I am now gonna start streaming, be it on YouTube or Twitch, but there's a higher chance that I'm just gonna be doing it on YouTube. And if you're interested in watching me stream, I'm gonna come out with a community post within a week of when I post this video. It's going to detail a few things here and there about the scheduling. Hopefully everything goes great for my first stream. And I especially want to start streaming because of Shadow of the Erdtree. Even though my viewership might be small, I do want to share that experience with you guys on the DLC. Anyways, this has been Warden Gamer 4, and make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell notification for alerts when I post a new video. And thank you for watching this video if you're new here. There was a random influx of viewers for my previous challenge run video, and I'm very grateful for that. I am grateful for your viewership, and with that said, ciao.